Global Gridlock Report: North Korea expands military capabilities, poses growing global threat. North Korea is once again capturing international attention with alarming revelations about its growing military capabilities. According to recent reports, Pyongyang's relentless pursuit of nuclear weapons and military expansion has reached new heights under the leadership of Kim Jong-un. North Korea's aggressive stance has raised significant concerns not just within East Asia but across the globe, as its military posture threatens to destabilize regional peace and complicate international security dynamics. Before we proceed, please like, comment and subscribe to help us with the YouTube algorithm. The report reveals that the North Korean military has swelled to a staggering 1.28 million active personnel, supported by millions more in reserve forces, making it one of the largest standing armies in the world. This expansion is accompanied by Pyongyang's increasingly sophisticated arsenal, with a heavy focus on nuclear weapons development. Western intelligence indicates that the North Korean regime now possesses between 20 and 30 nuclear warheads, with experts predicting a sharp rise in its nuclear stockpile if sanctions and diplomatic measures remain ineffective. In a speech earlier this year, Kim Jong-un made it clear that his regime would continue its nuclear program without hesitation, signaling a deliberate shift from any previous overtures toward denuclearization. This belligerent approach has left regional powers, including South Korea and Japan, scrambling to bolster their defense systems. In response, the US and South Korea have strengthened joint military drills, an act condemned by Pyongyang as a provocation that could lead to military conflict. North Korea's military expansion is not limited to nuclear capabilities. Satellite imagery has revealed accelerated development of ballistic missiles and strategic weapons delivery systems. The regime's efforts to miniaturize nuclear warheads for long-range missiles have made considerable progress, increasing the threat to neighboring countries and even extending to the US mainland. With these developments, Pyongyang's ambitions are now being interpreted as a deliberate attempt to shift the balance of power in East Asia. The military buildup has sparked intense criticism from global powers. The UN Security Council, including the US and its allies, has issued warnings about further economic sanctions if North Korea continues its nuclear activities. Yet these sanctions, which have crippled much of North Korea's economy, have failed to deter the regime, which appears determined to leverage its nuclear capability for political and economic concessions on the international stage. China, a longtime ally of North Korea, has found itself in a precarious position. While Beijing supports stability in the region, it has grown wary of Pyongyang's unpredictability. Analysts suggest that China is walking a diplomatic tightrope, balancing its interests in maintaining North Korea as a buffer state while seeking to prevent full-scale conflict on its doorstep. Russia, which has recently warmed up to North Korea amidst its isolation from the West, has quietly offered support in the form of military cooperation. Observers point out that North Korea's engagement with Russia is another indication of its desire to evade sanctions and create alternative alliances, especially as Moscow faces Western sanctions due to the war in Ukraine. South Korea, meanwhile, has unveiled new defense initiatives, including advanced missile defense systems designed to intercept potential attacks from the north. Public sentiment in South Korea is increasingly leaning toward enhanced military readiness, with some political factions advocating for the development of Seoul's own nuclear deterrent. The developments have reignited international calls for diplomacy, with some leaders urging a return to negotiations similar to the now-defunct six-party talks. However, optimism for peaceful resolution is low. North Korea's recent statements and military activities suggest that it is prepared to endure further isolation in pursuit of strategic leverage. The situation presents a daunting challenge for the international community. As the global focus remains divided by other geopolitical crises, such as tensions in the Middle East and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, North Korea's actions risk being overshadowed. Experts warn that this could embolden Pyongyang to accelerate its ambitions unchecked, increasing the likelihood of a crisis that could erupt into conflict. In this precarious environment, world leaders face the complex task of navigating the North Korean threat without triggering full-scale war. The road ahead requires careful diplomacy, regional coordination, and, most critically, a unified international response. Whether the global community can rise to the challenge or allow North Korea's nuclear ambitions to spiral out of control remains to be seen. Global Gridlock will continue to monitor the unfolding developments closely, as the situation in East Asia presents profound implications for global peace and security.